You're an IT professional, sales professional, or a business owner. That's why you're here. And what I'd like to do is share with you today some consultative selling methodology. And I'd like you to take this out into the real world with you and use it and let me know how it goes. So, first thing I want to talk about is the failure of traditional selling methods. We call this the transactional selling model. And it's kind of like going into a corner store to get some milk. You walk in, you get the milk, you know the features and benefits of milk, you know what the price should be. If it's $1 more or less, you'll go across the street to get it there. It's not as if you're going to walk in and go up to the counter and the guy behind the counter is going to say, "Hi, how are you?" And you're going to say, "I need some milk." And he's going to say, "That's interesting. Tell me, when did you first realize that you had the need for milk?" It's laughable, right? You know, it's not going to happen in a transactional selling situation. So the problem is that this does not work with complex information technology sales, software or hardware, this transactional model. Something different is required. Now, in the situation that we've got today, salespeople and prospective customers they're at odds, they're at loggerheads. Why is that? Well, because there have been many, many untrustworthy salespeople through the last 100 years, or even more, probably going back to the dawn of time, who promised but then didn't deliver or took the money and left the customer with an inferior product. So everybody, you and me, all of us, have been trained since we were little kids to be on our toes, especially when we hear or see the cues of "here comes a salesperson." So the old way, and the way that most sales is done right now, is this transactional model in which a salesperson confronts a customer and tries to make them buy what it is that they're pushing. And they do this by getting in their face and not going away, and talking and talking and talking, and ramming home these features and benefits without ever finding out whether this prospective customer, we'll call it prospect from now on, whether this prospect even actually has a need for this product or service. And you and I, or anybody else, as the prospect, well, our hackles go up. We go, get away from me. What do you want? You know, oh gosh, this guy's going to eat up all my time. I'm going to be standing here for 3 hours, smiling and nodding. I don't want to be rude, but I also do not need this thing. And one or the other ends up blowing up, the salesperson or the customer. Or the customer ends up surrendering after offering a bunch of objections and having those overcome, and it's this big wrestling match struggle. And finally, out the end, pops a sale once in a while. Is this fun? Is this a fun way to be doing work? I don't think it's a fun way to sell. There's a lot of information on this way of selling. Car salespeople are very good at it. People in electronic stores are very good at it. And there's been quite a bit of training in the real estate market about this. Oh, don't call it small, call it cozy. Well, okay, thanks a lot. As a customer, that kind of annoys me because it tells me you're trying to dupe me or pull the wool over my eyes. Well, I'm not that dumb, and neither are you. So we've been trained over our lives as prospects to resist salespeople and this method. And that's why purchasers are so good at playing salespeople off against each other, because that side of the game is very well known, that selling side of the game. And when you're purchasing, the idea is to get a number of prospective suppliers out there who are all trying to sell to you, tell them and try and make them as equal as possible. All right, are you seeing this? And then telling them, well, okay, now you all have to give me your best price. And then this is great for the customer. It's all down to price. But from a consultative selling side, no problems are actually getting addressed. There's no solution anywhere. It's just getting down to the rock bottom of the price, the bottom of the barrel, common denominator. Again, not a fun way of doing business for anybody. Now, sales, of course, not just about fun, it's about making money. But why not make money and enjoy yourself and feel like you're contributing? And that's what consultative selling will enable you to do. So we've looked at the transactional model, which pits the customer and the salesperson against one another until one of them screams uncle, essentially. And there's a win or a lose there. That's an attitude that we want to get away from. With consultative selling, we are attempting to be problem solvers, trusted advisors, and that's where we're going next. So let's get right into an overview of consultative selling. First of all, it's called consultative selling because you're consulting with your prospect. You're not trying to ram a bunch of features and benefits down their throat. You're trying to elicit a bunch of responses from them that will tell you what's really going on in their world. What kind of problems are they experiencing? You are also cognizant that your solution, whatever product or service that you're offering, is not a solution for everybody. It's not. It's not a one-size-fits-all Band-Aid solution that can be slapped on any prospective customer and say, there you go, thanks a lot, now give me the money. You can't do that anymore. And it's bad practice to do anyway, because it leads to that lack of fulfillment feeling that prospects have under the traditional model of selling, which is broken. That's a broken way of selling. Secondly, you're going to be much more comfortable using this process because it allows you to be authentic, quiet, comfortable. Your manner, I want you to think of two different salespeople. They both do selling, although the second one you're probably not going to be aware of it so much. First person is gym membership director, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The guy, hey, how are you? Boy, do you need to sign up right now for this, and I want you to sign up for 3 years. I mean, it's really important for your health and your cardio and all that. You need to sign up now, and I want thousands of dollars for it right now. You're an idiot if you don't sign up because prices are going up next week. This is a special. It's just for you. We need to take care of this now. Whoa. Again, has this guy really tried to find out whether this is the right gym or exercise for you? Is it within your budget? Are you going to stick around and actually use the facilities? You don't care about any of that stuff. Now contrast that approach with a quiet person who go into their office, sit in a little room, they come in, see you, pop into the room with a whole bunch of preconceived notions about what solution it is to whatever your problem is. They ask you simple, direct questions in a nice way about what's going on with you. You tell them, think about it for a little bit, and then they write you a prescription. That's right, I'm talking about your doctor. Look at the difference between these two approaches. Who do you like dealing with better? Who do you feel runs you over with the process versus is actually truly, genuinely concerned about your well-being? Who would you rather be like? Who makes more money? When we are following the consultative model, we are being the doctor. And this phrase of doctoring will come up many times in consultative selling. You will be doctoring for pain. So we'll just quickly define pain as any urgent feeling of uncomfortableness that your prospect is feeling, that they're genuinely feeling and that they acknowledge. They have to say it. If your prospect says it, whatever it is, they could say the sun is blue. It's true. If you say it, it's now a point that needs to be defended. This is very, very important. So, and it's again a contrasting thing between transactional selling and consultative selling. You've got to get the prospect to tell you what their problem is, because then it's a real thing. And you will be doctoring for pain at that point. But we're not there yet. Prospecting is a scary thing for value-added resellers right now, and it's because you haven't been shown how to do it well. That's not your fault. You just got that old, clunky, traditional model that's broken, and you're trying to push this product or service at people, and of course they're resisting. You and I would resist. The purpose of prospecting is to uncover a little bit of pain in our prospects' world that they acknowledge exists. That lays the foundation for continued conversation. After we get pain on the table, it depends on whether what you do is selling completely over the phone or whether you set appointments. If you got a little bit of pain on the table and you set appointments, it's now time to do that. You don't want to dig too much because you want the gold left in the earth, I guess, to think about it as an analogy, to be left for you to uncover when you get there face-to-face with your prospect. Works better that way. If you do it over the phone, you can just move right into the next stage. And we call this doctoring for pain. We are really trying to define that pain now. What's the problem? Why is it happening? Why do you think it's happened? Have you tried to fix it before? How did that turn out? Why do you think that we would do things differently than the other company that you brought in here? You want them to say it. You do not want to be pushing yourself. Oh yeah, we can take care of that. We can do that better. You want them to say what they think that you can do better. There's a wonderful story about a little girl who was in school painting, and she finished painting her picture, and it was outside, and the art teacher came by and said, "That's great. What I think it's missing are a couple of seagulls over here." And it actually painted the seagulls in. And the girl went home and was upset and cried to her parents, and the parents ended up suing the teacher. And in court, the judge sided with the child, and the damning testimony was from a question the judge asked the kid. The judge asked, "Why were you so upset about your painting getting changed?" And the girl said, "Because I did not see the seagulls in it." So please keep your seagulls away from your prospect's painting. Don't let them in. No matter how badly you want to, and you're going to want to, keep the seagulls out. Prospect's vision is the prospect's vision. And the end of doctoring for pain, you want your prospect to tell you what they think an ideal solution would look like. If the world was perfect after we were done, what would it be like? And they will tell you. Don't put your seagulls in it. Don't put your features and benefits in it. Don't tell them about all the other wonderful things other than what they want your software to do that it actually can do. Educate them later in the post-sale phase. Don't do anything else other than address what their problem is right now. Now, at this point, the inexperienced or traditional salesperson would demo. You've probably been wondering, when's he going to demo? When's he going to say I should demo? Well, you shouldn't. The demo should be the most difficult thing to get from you. It should be very, very hard to get you to demo. Because what the prospect is trying to do is act like a purchaser. Get a bunch of different products, put them in a graph and a chart, features, benefits, line them up, try and make them as equal as possible, tell the salespeople you're all equal from all the different companies I'm sourcing from, and then make them jump for price, discounts, extra features thrown in, something. You don't want to get involved in that kind of a process. That's not helpful. It's slow. It boils down to the lowest common denominator of price. You're not really solving any problems. It's bad for you and it's bad for the prospect. They don't know any better. So run through this process. Instead of demoing, what we're going to do now in the consultative selling methodology is say, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I don't suppose you've considered what kind of a budget you might have to set aside for a project like this, right? You're going to use some specific questioning skills in order to uncover the prospect's real budget. Imagine a guy who walks onto a car lot, finds a salesperson does a little digging for pain, says, Mr. Prospect, have I got a great vehicle for you. It's going to give you the vitality and the youth and the feeling of power that you've been seeking. It's a Lamborghini. And the client goes, that's fantastic. That's great. That's exactly what I want. And the salesperson continues, yeah, it's $440,000. Whoa, we're over. We're done. The salesperson is all excited, thinks he's got a big one on the line, and the prospect folds and goes, oh, geez, I don't have that much money to spend. Now they're deflated, you're deflated. It's bad news all around. You need to uncover the prospect's budget before you demo any kind of a solution. And there are specific ways of doing that I can teach you. Once you've uncovered the budget, and you know it's a fit now, because their problem and your solution at your price are in the ballpark, you can continue talking. It's now time to do what we call the non-close close. Closes are a thing of the past. They're a terrible, awful thing. They're the summit of that traditional selling model that pits the salesperson against the prospect in this big wrestling match of overcoming objections, and finally, on the final objection, bing, the flag goes up and he wins. Yay, the salesperson won and the sale is made. We don't want that at all. We do want to set up a very clear if-then equation. If we do this, you will do that. And we want an answer today, now. It's okay to take 15 minutes or a couple of hours to talk it over or whatever with your staff or what you need, your wife, whoever. But we need a decision now. None of this, yes, I thank you for your presentation. I promise we will give you a very serious consideration. We'll get back to you in 2 weeks. Serious consideration? 2 weeks? What is this? No. We want to quickly move through as many prospects as possible in order to find the best fit and make sales. Great. That's what we want to do. We don't want to be put in limbo and then following up with people and not getting any feedback and leaving voicemails that never get returned. That's sales hell. We don't want to go there. Stay away. If a prospect will not play ball, you drop them. You qualify them out. Sorry, it doesn't sound like we're a fit. Move on. It's faster to move on. Find the people who have an urgent need for what you have to offer, rather than spending time pursuing people who have demonstrated no interest. And that sounds, I know that sounds straightforward, but you can come with me and we can look at the call lists of your salespeople or your CRM or whatever and look at the ridiculousness of what they've got highlighted as a hot lead. And you'll see it. It'll say, call, not here, said no, wasn't interested, told me to call back in 3 months, wasn't interested, not in. This is a hot lead. Over and over again, I see this. It's ridiculous. That's not the world, again, we want to be in. We don't want to be there. We want to only show our product and service and its details and how it solves our prospects' problems if they have shown us that they have a real need for it and they can pay for it, and that they will tell us yes or no very quickly thereafter. That's it. We don't want any maybes or think it overs. We don't want that at all. Now, typical transactional selling prospector gets on the phone, opens his mouth, and won't shut up. We all know this. Answer the phone. Hi, it's so-and-so selling from so-and-so at such and such a place, and it's 30 seconds later, and you're still looking for a wedge to get in there, to get a word in and say, no, I'm not interested or whatever, and then you have to be rude or do something uncomfortable to get rid of the salesperson, and it's not good for either side. So what we're going to do is first going to ask permission to talk. And this is going to set you completely far and ahead of every other competing salesperson who's calling. You're simply going to say the prospect's name is Mary. Hi, Mary. Is this a bad time? That's it. And wait for them to answer you. And they will usually tell you, if it's a bad time, get out of there. Don't get associated with whatever bad thing is going on over there. You don't know what's been happening over there. There may have been an explosion. People may be fist fighting over something. They may have just gotten off the phone with a supplier that they've had to get very, very angry with. You don't want any association with that, because if you do, if you give your name or your company name and you call back some other time, they're going to remember instantly that emotion that they were feeling, and it's associated with you now. You're screwed. You're never going to get in there. So just say, okay, thanks, bye. I'll call back some other time. And get out of there, please. Did it once. Did it one time was all it took me to learn that lesson. Because I called back again, and it was a bad time, and I was about to offer a free seminar to this guy. Not for me, but for the company that I was working for. And the guy said, as soon as I identified myself, he said, "Oh yeah, I remember you, I'm not interested," and hung up with a crash. And I was like, whoa, I'm trying to give you something. You didn't even listen to what I had to say. And I went, oh yeah, okay, I remember. I got associated with what bad thing happened last time, and never again. Once was enough. If you want to try it out, go ahead, but you could also just take my word for it and avoid the pain. Once they say it's not a bad time, and sometimes they'll say, well, it's always a bad time, what do you got? Or, just tell me what you're calling about. You have a choice to make there about whether it really is a bad time or not. If you know in your gut it's a bad time, just say, no, it's okay, I'll call you back some other time, and hang up. And a no call. Once you know that it's comfortable to talk, then you can say, okay, well, they'll probably say, what's this about? You can say, well, my name's Jason Canigan, and I'm with the XYZ company, and why don't I take a quick minute, tell you why I called, and then you can decide whether we should continue speaking or not. Does that sound fair? Whoa, okay. This is totally different. This is very different from the traditional salesperson who gets on the phone, starts talking, and won't stop. You're asking permission to go forward. Now, some people will say, well, doesn't that sound weak and pandering? And no, because although you may freak out and think, well, you're giving the prospect control of the call. Oh, no, they all already always had it. You're not really giving it to them. You're just making use of the fact that they have it. And what happens when you give something to somebody? They usually take it. So I've been told, no, you can't talk to me maybe a half dozen times that I can think of in this 10-year period that I've been really concentrating on selling as a career. So you've already told them it's going to be quick. You're not going to be stuck on the phone with me forever, and that they can decide whether they should keep talking or not with you. And that's great. So then you can say, okay, you can repeat your name, company name, and say, well, and typically businesses in your industry do work with us because of these 3 reasons, or they bring us on board to help out in these 3 areas, or these problems we help solve. So you're giving out your core message, these pain points, and hopefully one of them or more is going to resonate in the mind of the prospect, and they're going to come back and say, yeah, I got that problem, or I know exactly what you're talking about. If they don't, you have a chance. You can come back. Now, after you've given your core message, the thing to say is something, again, it sounds weak, but you're giving ground that they will want to instinctually move forward and take over. You're going to say something like, but I don't even know if any of these are applicable to you, or if you're experiencing any of these things. And they'll tell you, yes, no. If yes, oh, which one? Okay, that surprises me. I thought it would be this other thing, but tell me about that. You're starting to get pain on the table. If they don't resonate with any of those 3 that you've given initially, you have the chance now to say, oh, okay, well, before I go, I don't suppose that it's the case that you're experiencing issue number 4. And you may do this with issue number 5, 4 or 5. Then you're reaching the maximum. Then you're going to have to say, well, it sounds like we're not a fit, and move on to your next prospect. Now remember, we're not trying to get every prospect to say yes and be a fit. We're not trying to jam that square peg into the round hole. Lots of people are not a fit, and that's okay. And if the guy's a jerk, they're not a fit with us. I don't want to work with somebody like that. We have the power to choose who to sell to and who not to. So let's assume that you've got a little bit of pain on the table. Then now you can set your appointment, or you can continue on through the rest of the selling process with it. Let's sum up then the prospecting portion of the consultative selling method. We're asking for permission, making sure it's not a bad time. We're asking that we can let them listen to what we have to say and then tell us whether or not it's worth their time or not. Then we're going to give the core message, 3 main reasons why people do business with us, and see if they resonate. We're going to trail off at the end, but I'm not even sure if you have any of these problems. And then we're going to be quiet and let them respond. And they either are or they are not going to agree that they have any of those problems. If they don't, we're going to give 1 or 2 tries at picking up another pain point. Well, okay, Mr. Prospect, I don't suppose you have a problem with this, 4th thing. And if not, then we qualify them out. Next step, either we try and get an appointment in order to discuss the pain in greater detail, or if the selling process that your company does is entirely by phone, then we continue on into the full-blown doctoring for pain part of the process.